Could Christian Horner really be planning a sensational switch from Red Bull to Aston Martin? Is Yuki Tsunoda about to become Honda's secret weapon in this power play? And would this move actually give Aston Martin the championship blueprint they've been desperately seeking? These aren't just wild paddock rumors anymore. There's a pattern emerging that suggests one of the most shocking transfers in F1 history might actually be gathering momentum. The whispers started quietly, but according to sources tracking the story, what began as speculation is now being discussed seriously by people who rarely get these calls wrong. After 2 decades at Red Bull and a record that includes 8 drivers' crowns and 6 constructors' titles, Horner was relieved of his operational role in early July. Red Bull GmbH announced Laurent Mekies as the new CEO of Red Bull Racing, but that thunderclap might just be the beginning. Here's where this gets interesting. The timing of Horner's departure isn't random. It's happening right as the 2026 rules reset approaches and power unit alliances are being completely redrawn. Teams aren't just building cars anymore. They're building power structures and long-term identities. And Aston Martin? They're spending big money and making aggressive moves that suggest they're preparing for something major. The Silverstone operation has been on a rapid climb, backed by Lawrence Stroll's investment, and now paired with a Works Honda program from next season. Honda's return as a full factory partner gives Aston Martin something they haven't had since the early Force India days, a technical spine and cultural anchor. But they need someone who knows how to integrate a manufacturer, motivate a growing workforce, and defend a star driver's interests. That profile sounds remarkably familiar. It sounds exactly like Christian Horner. The evidence gets more compelling when you look at the driver pipeline. Yuki Tsunoda was never purely a Red Bull product. He was and remains a Honda protege. And with Red Bull pivoting to Ford from 2026, that umbilical cord between Tsunoda and the senior team gets thinner every race. Meanwhile, Honda is moving its engines to Aston Martin, and manufacturers always look after their own. But here's where this story takes an unexpected turn that most people aren't talking about. Pablo Montoya recently poured fuel on this fire when he said he could see Horner at Aston rather than Cadillac. He pointed specifically to the years alongside Adrian Newey and how that kind of partnership mindset could map onto what Aston Martin is trying to build. This isn't just headline speculation. It's a picture of how Aston Martin might professionalize that final 5% that separates regular podiums from sustained title pressure. And you don't buy that final step off the shelf. You recruit it. The practical realities of this potential move are not as outlandish as they initially sound. Horner lives within the motorsport corridor that stretches from Milton Keynes to Silverstone. The Aston Martin campus is expanding, their wind tunnel is online, and Honda will bring people, processes, and a ruthless focus on power unit detail. Layer in the Honda driver pipeline and the story gains another crucial dimension. Tsunoda's contract sits on the edge, and Red Bull's pipeline is crowded with names like Ishaq Hadjar being evaluated as a possible Verstappen teammate for 2026. Helmut Marko has never been sentimental about these decisions. If a driver doesn't meet the bar, he moves on. Most 2026 seats are already settled, and the remaining openings favor drivers with either manufacturer backing or championship pedigree. For Tsunoda, that means following Honda's path, which now runs directly through Aston Martin. The talk in the paddock is simple but significant. If Tsunoda cannot secure a race seat, Honda could park him at Aston Martin as a test and reserve driver. It keeps him inside the factory loop, lets him learn the car, and preserves a bridge back to the grid if circumstances change. And this is where the Max Verstappen factor becomes absolutely crucial to understanding why this rumor won't die. Verstappen has given clarity for 2026, which stabilizes Red Bull in the near term. But the question is what follows once the new rules reveal who has nailed the concept. If Aston Martin hits the ground running with Honda and a car influenced by lessons that people like Adrian Newey have championed for years, the gravitational pull on top talent becomes very real. A driver at the peak of his powers wants a car that matches his appetite for dominance. If that target shifts, loyalties can shift with it. For Red Bull, the immediate challenge is structural. Mekies steps into a powerful executive seat. Technical groups must stay aligned, and the junior program has to produce a second driver who can live alongside Verstappen without draining points or soaking up strategy bandwidth. Any perception of drift and the market will probe for weak points. Red Bull has handled turbulence before, but this is a different type of test. It's not only about lap time, it's about narrative control. Look at the broader competitive picture that makes this rumor so compelling. 2026 represents a clean slate. Red Bull Ford is an unknown today, not because of doubt inside Milton Keynes, but because no one can be certain how the full powertrain and chassis integration will land until the car runs in anger. Aston Martin Honda has a clearer shape. It's a standard works model, and that model has a habit of producing synergy when the culture is right. Place a proven team boss on top of that stack, and you give yourself a faster route to coherence. But there's one aspect of this story that reveals just how serious Aston Martin might be about making this happen. If Horner does arrive in Silverstone, the combination of a Honda-supported driver, a factory engine program, and an assertive senior leader would give Aston Martin a unified identity from the boardroom to the garage. This isn't just about hiring experience. It's about creating a complete ecosystem that can challenge for championships. The hard realities exist, of course. Contracts have teeth. Gardening leave provisions exist for a reason, and anti-poaching clauses surround key technical figures. Any move of this magnitude would need lawyers, NDAs, and patience. On the driver's side, Tsunoda would have to accept standing next to two entrenched names in Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll. A reserve path makes sense in theory, but it still demands humility and consistency from a racer who has built his identity on aggression and spark. So, here's what we're watching for in the coming months. If this rumor has legs, we'll see subtle signs. Key Honda personnel moving between programs, technical partnerships being quietly established, and most tellingly, how Aston Martin handles their leadership communications. The 2026 reset will redraw the competitive map. The teams that get leadership, power unit integration, and driver alignment right will control the conversation. Everyone else will explain the gap. Picture it for a moment. A Honda-powered Aston Martin, an assertive hand on the tiller, a Japanese star waiting in the wings, and a grid reset that invites a new order. It's only a rumor today, yet it captures the energy of a paddock that can sense another turning point coming. What are your thoughts? Could this actually happen? And would it give Aston Martin the championship structure they need? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more F1 Insider analysis.